Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Sunflower9595, and it says, I, 30 female, took off my engagement ring after 12 years with my fiance, 30 male. I think I'm done, but now he wants to change. I, 30 female, have been with my fiance, 30 male, for 12 years. We met in school, got engaged 2 years ago, and have a 5-year-old daughter together. He's a kind man at heart, but he's a workaholic. Over the past few years, he's become more and more consumed by work, often staying up late, waking up at 3 AM to work again, falling asleep on the sofa most nights. I've asked for help repeatedly, but nothing changes. I work full-time, study in the evenings, exercise to manage stress, and I'm the default parent. Every routine, every meltdown, every bedtime, every household task. He promises to help and then he just doesn't. Example, the other night he said he'd put our daughter to bed. At 9:30 I found him snoring while she watched cartoons on his phone after he gave her chocolate before bed. She was wired until 10:30 PM and I had to take over again. Last night, I broke down crying. He asked if I wanted to talk. I said no, I was too exhausted to speak and he just went to sleep on the sofa again. I came downstairs after studying, saw him still asleep, dishes not done like he promised he would do, and quietly took off my engagement ring and left it on the table. This morning I got a long message from him. He says how he truly sees the damage, that he's been emotionally shut down from his own trauma, and he's been in a dark place and taken me for granted. He says he'll go to therapy, change how he works, show up better, and is asking for 30 days to prove himself. And now, I'm torn. Part of me wants to believe him. It's everything I've wanted him to say months ago. But another part of me feels like it's too late. I've been holding it all together alone for too long. I'm tired, hurt, and honestly unsure if I even want to try anymore. So Reddit, I need advice. Can people really change after years of emotional absence? Has anyone tried a trial period like this? Did it help or just delay the inevitable? How do I protect myself and my daughter emotionally if I do give him this time? I'm not wearing the ring anymore. I haven't promised anything. I'm just trying to figure out if there's anything left worth saving or if I've already outgrown this version of us. Thanks for reading. Any insight or experience is deeply appreciated. Edit/frequently asked questions. Thanks for all the responses so far. I just wanted to answer a few common questions that keep coming up. Does he work extra hours because we need the money? No. We could live off my salary alone. We have everything we need. A house with a low mortgage, no car payments, and no major debts. His extra hours don't bring in extra pay. He's salaried. He's a project manager at a large corporate firm and is working towards yet another promotion. He's a yes man at work, always overextending himself, even when it means logging on in the middle of the night. He says it's for the family, but truthfully, it's about a career ambition and people pleasing. Have I helped him with his trauma? This is the first time he's ever opened up about trauma. I know his childhood was a bit rough, but for years he insisted it didn't affect him. Now suddenly, it's being named as a reason for his emotional disconnection. I'm not minimizing it. I understand trauma is real, but until now, it was completely buried and never talked about. Have I brought this up before? Yes. Over and over, I've told him clearly, calmly, even desperately what I needed. He says he's helping by working so hard, and if he does the dishes or takes our daughter to bed once in a while, he wants a medal. He genuinely believes he's doing enough because his intentions are good, but good intentions don't carry a household. Context on my life and career. I work in a law firm. It's often very stressful, and I'm currently sitting my FE1 exams, which are the Irish equivalent of the bar. I could have qualified years ago, but I kept putting my own career goals on the back burner to support his. Every time he needed flexibility, space, late nights, I gave it. I don't regret supporting him, but I do regret losing myself in the process. It's always in stories like this that they only seem to change when the consequences hit. You know, he's been like this up to this point, and there's been 12 years of it, and it took for you to put your engagement ring on the table to then suddenly change. There might be truth in what he says. It might sound sincere, but is it enough at the same time? I personally don't think you owe the 30 days after going through years of this, but if you want to, if you think there's something that you might be able to build on, then maybe it's worth it. But in some ways at the same time, do you think 30 days is going to change what's been years of this pattern? And quite simply, you're allowed to be done with it. Background Milk says to the OP, the most freeing thing I did was to leave the man who neglected my emotional needs over and over again. I was in the hospital for 10 days and he dropped me off and visited me once. But when his friend was in the same hospital, he went every single day. You're modeling good behavior for your daughter. I am better alone. You may step up as a better parent after you leave. My ex did. And bonus, now my house is decorated exactly how I like it. Ozzy says you told him repeatedly that you were unhappy. He didn't take steps to change until it impacted his potential happiness and comfort. Leaving the ring on the table was you saying, too late, I'm done. Now he promises to change. Where was all this when you were begging for help? He doesn't listen when you tell him there is a problem, not until you make it his problem. Is this really the relationship you want? Because it's the one you've got. No replies to that saying, OP, please listen to this. He's telling you only what you want to hear because he doesn't want to lose his easy way of life. He sees he pushed the line too far and now needs to course correct so you won't leave. He will change just exactly the minimum you will allow him for the minimum amount of time. Please leave. I promise it is so much easier to be a single mother of one child than it is to also have to mother an adult. It feels so scary, but once you do it, you will realize we are right. You and your child will be in a peaceful space rather than one filled with arguing and fights. Putting your child to bed is not the same as expecting the child to already be asleep, getting angry at his letdown again, and then fixing all the problems he created and putting your child to bed. And one more comment which says, just as an alternative, you didn't have to go along with the 30 days thing. I'm not saying what you should or should not do, but if he's serious about doing whatever work is required to change and be a better partner, it will take longer than 30 days. One of the things that could mean, if you wanted to, is that for now you sort of split, whatever that looks like, and later down the line you can try again when that work is well underway. I'm not expressing it very well, I don't think, but the point I'm trying to make is that you don't need to make some sort of final decision right now, and 30 days is an arbitrary timeline. It could be different. Do what you feel you need to do right now, but whatever you do doesn't have to be binding for the rest of time. So OP did come in with their update and said, thanks to everyone who responded to my original post. Your advice and outside perspective really helped me see things clearly. We were supposed to talk tonight, just one honest conversation to see if there was anything left to save. But he fell asleep putting our daughter to bed and never came down. No message, no effort. That moment confirmed what I've been feeling deep down for a while. I've been holding this relationship together alone, giving chances, getting my hopes up, and being let down every single time. To be fair, over the past 2 days, he did try. He was suddenly being the partner I'd been asking for. He cleaned without being asked, made me coffee, which he rarely did, and sent me long, apologetic texts. He acknowledged how much he's hurt me and even told me he booked a therapy session for Monday. But the truth is, I feel like it's too late. It took me reaching my breaking point for him to react, and even now, when we finally had a chance to talk, he fell asleep again. He'll wake up in our daughter's bed and find the message I sent, telling him that I'm done. I don't even want to speak to him at this point, though I know I have to for the sake of our daughter. I'm hurt, exhausted, and emotionally checked out. After 12 years together, and 5 of those raising a child, I've hit a point where love has turned into resentment. I don't recognize us anymore. I know this won't be easy, but I also know it's necessary. I need peace, I need clarity, and I need to stop trying to fix something that's been broken for far too long. Thank you again to everyone who helped me feel less alone in this. It meant more than you know. A couple of the top comments after that one says, spoiler alert, he won't change. Lon says, I have had this happen also. They do everything you've ever asked them when they know you are done. They think this helps. What they don't realize is it just pisses us off even more because now we know they knew what and how to do what we asked for all along. They just didn't care until we were walking out the door. Too fucking late, asshole. Four Seasons says exactly this. My ex wanted to make all the changes when he realized he had lost me. And it made it so much worse because I spent the last 2 years having hours of intense conversation over all things that needed to change. I told him that making the changes to stop me leaving does nothing. That's just manipulation. I needed him to make the changes because he wanted to keep the relationship in the first place. Commodore says no one wants to be with a person who's more motivated by their absence than their presence. And for me, I kind of saw that one coming, I think. I mean, the moment him falling asleep before the conversation you clearly needed was just that final punch in the gut, right? And sure, like you said, he made efforts for the last 2 days, but let's be real, 2 days of change isn't going to do all those years of what you went through. All those years of picking up the slack and screaming into the void when you was getting no help. And I got no doubt that it's going to hurt for OP for a little while. Like we always say in situations like this, you know, your feelings don't immediately disappear. Actually, that's a lie. Sometimes they do. We've seen that in stories. But it usually takes a bit of time to get to the point where you're at peace with yourself and realizing that you was the only adult in that situation and you deserve peace and happiness yourself. And that's what I'm wishing for you. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story is titled, My girlfriend came home and overheard my therapy session and listened in. Now she is very angry. How do I proceed? My girlfriend came home to my therapy through telehealth. She heard me talking about her and chose to listen for about 30 minutes before I realized she was home. She stormed out and was extremely angry at me. I had been talking about our relationship and had in the heat of emotions jumped to hurtful conclusions about how people around me feel about her, which I worry I misconstrued it in my speaking as dislike. I'd also been talking about our relationships, some stresses, getting everything out and just talking through it. She says she feels betrayed and like she was stabbed in the back over this. I feel awful. I haven't been able to interpret my feelings on this appropriately either, and I have been responding with anger. How do I proceed? What do I do? Sorry for the small details, it's for privacy's sake. Edit. I do want to add that what has been stated here, I did not say anything directly mean about her. I've only talked about issues we've had and how those around me might view her. She only heard me talking and not my therapist. She is upset I would share any information about our relationship or what she's been struggling with anyone, including my therapist. Edit 2. I thank you all for the support, and although I'm not replying to every comment, I am reading them and taking everything into account. I am also at work and work EMS, so I'm sorry if I don't get to your comment. Edit 3. I thank you all for the replies. I'm sorry I haven't been able to respond to everyone. You've all been a big help, and I'm going to reflect on everything everyone has said for sure when looking at this relationship. Thank you all. So the first commenter said to OP, you didn't do anything wrong. She was the one who violated your privacy by listening in on your session. As far as I'm concerned, it's not on you to do anything. She should be apologizing to you. Ambassador said, for real. Therapy is literally the place to air your grievances. It's supposed to be private for a reason. Uber says, doing it by talking into your laptop at the house you share with your partner who can walk in at any time carries its risks. And it was about a month after that OP came in with an update and said, hello, I recently posted here about my girlfriend eavesdropping on my therapy session and the huge fallout that came of it. It's been a couple of weeks and a lot has happened. I took everything everyone had said from my previous post and read it multiple times to really get my head where I need to be. I realized that she shouldn't have listened, and that was on her. We had an argument not long after I made the post. She blamed me for everything, said many hurtful things. I was leaning towards breaking up when her whole script flipped. She acted like she was in the wrong about everything, made me feel like she was going to change for the better. She wasn't. I took a step back from our relationship for 2 days. I wanted to really reflect and think. She didn't honor that wish, and she didn't have any plans to. But after reading all the comments and reflecting, I realized I was in a toxic relationship, where I was cutting off my friends and family for this person that I would never be enough for. I ended up breaking up with her. It hurt a lot, but I thank you all so much for helping me to see what needed to be done. I couldn't have done it if it weren't for all your advice. I wanted to give this little update to let everyone know how thankful I am and to answer any questions I didn't from my previous post. Commenter says to OP, "Good job, you should be proud of yourself. How did she handle the breakup?" OP replies saying, "Not well. I'd asked originally for 2 days just to reflect on everything. She ended up showing up to my house and threatened suicide. And that was a lot on me and made me really scared. I ended up having to cut ties with her. I sent a message and blocked her because every time I had tried to talk to her, she would make me feel bad. She said she was going to therapy and wanted to change and be with me, but that wasn't what was happening, so I had to bite the bullet." Bogey Dope says threatening suicide is the reddest of red flags. The moment a partner does that, you need to get the fuck out of there yesterday. OP says, "I came to realize that when it happened, we had a long argument because I was ready to have a IV seed. But the more I look at it, it was a pure manipulation tactic. I should have known. Gee bloody whiz." And there was a few people talking about, being in a shared space and overhearing people. And, if you choose to have your therapy in your house, there's a chance people are going to overhear. And, I get that. There is a chance that people might overhear if you're in the room next to each other or whatever. But that's not what the story said. It said she chose to eavesdrop. She chose to stay and listen for 30 minutes and then weaponized it against OP. And like OP said, the threat of suicide after that all went down, that's not love, that's manipulation. And I think OP did the right thing by walking away. It's a hard thing for sure, but I think it was absolutely the right thing for OP to do. But what do you guys make of this situation? Maybe you got a different opinion on the matter. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. It's a popular one on there at the moment. There is no update as yet, but it's from username, I just spotted it, Superman's Left Tit. Bloody username. And it says, "Am I the arsehole for telling my niece her mother tried to give her away as a baby?" Compose yourself, that name's thrown me completely. "I, 28 male, got into a huge argument with my sister, 31 female, last week. The argument had been simmering for a long time, as tension between us had been high for years. When I was 17, my sister had an accidental pregnancy, and when she told her boyfriend, he left her. Due to our religious family, she kept the baby, but once her daughter was born, she panicked. She didn't want to go through the legal troubles of adoption, so she asked that me and our mother took care of her kid. There was no legal custody, but it was an agreement made within the family. I essentially raised my niece from birth until she was 3. With help from my mother, as she was working to support the new addition to the family. I dropped out of school and took care of her, fed her, changed her, and taught her how to walk while my mum was away at work. Then my sister met her now husband, cleaned her life up and suddenly wanted her kid back. No warning. She moves back to home and says thanks and starts being a mother. My niece is now 11 and doesn't remember all I and her grandmother did. It's been a family agreement to forget this all happened until the argument. My sister made a petty comment during a fight where she implied since I lost my job recently, I can't handle responsibility. I snapped and told her she was lucky her daughter was too young to remember how she abandoned her. My niece overheard this and now wants to know what I meant. I outright said that her mother didn't think she could raise her and left her with me and grandma. Now my sister says I traumatized her daughter and my mum says I should have kept the secret like we agreed. I think this secret couldn't stay kept forever. Am I the arsehole? Edit. Hello. I'm here to give some more context and answers to a bunch of the most common questions. When the argument happened, I put my niece to bed hours ago. We were at my mother's house and so no one knew she was going to come in. Secondly, after my niece was born, my sister moved states to get a job. Also, she was 20 and I was 17. And finally, in the aftermath, I said that we can't go back now since my niece already overheard us all talking. So as a group with her stepfather, we should get together to explain it better. But since the event, a week ago, my sister has been saying that we should blow over it and that my niece will forget it if we don't bring it up again. I'm frustrated at this, and at how she's now slating me alongside my mother. My mother believes I'm in the wrong for arguing with my sister in the first place, whereas I say she has no right to criticize me for losing my job when I lost my education to caring for a child. I'm trying to get in contact with my niece's stepfather to ask him for his opinion. Edit 2. Yes, I was asked by my mum to drop out of school, and I did so. I didn't go to college later. I had no intentions of hurting my niece, but she had already overheard what was said, so I felt that keeping it from her now would just cause a confusion. I'm now trying to backpedal the best I can with the family's assistance, to be able to properly explain the situation to her. But my sister and my mother both want to just pretend this never happened and hope my niece forgets as she grows up. Edit 3. I'm starting to wish I was clearer from the beginning. I said I was 17 when my sister had the accidental pregnancy. I meant that I was 17 when the baby was born. I'm really struggling to get past the part where it said the mum asking OP to give up their education. Just what the fuck? At 17 years old. That's just like, what was the sister thinking in this situation to take a cheap shot at OP knowing what he's done, but because OP's struggling she has that cheap shot at him? That's just ridiculous. And after reading, I don't know how many stories we've read on this channel, but with family secrecy, these secrets always seem to come out one way or another. They'd never stay buried forever. Was it an ideal way to come out right now? Absolutely not, but that niece deserves the truth, not just more secrecy, not burying it again, because it will come up again at some point in the future, and it's just going to keep hitting harder and harder every time. I can't imagine she's going to forget about it straight away, and you know, she's young, but I think she's old enough to understand if it's explained with care and love. Spare article says to the OP, your mum completely sucks for allowing you to derail your whole life for the sake of a 20-year-old woman not wanting to step up. It's shameful. You shouldn't have said what you said, but oh boy, I can't even begin to understand the resentment you must feel. Not the arsehole. Make no mistake, it was an arsehole thing to do, but I'm giving you a pass. And just to point out, there was a lot of people like talking about you're the arsehole or everyone sucks here under the assumption, I think it's like before edits and stuff and extra information, that the niece was in the same room at the time and didn't just overhear the conversation. So just take that when we're reading the comments here. Where were the adults says, wow, so mum was cool with you sacrificing your entire future to save your sister. Now mum is angry you aren't still playing the dutiful son who still does exactly what they are told. Mum was supposed to be the adult in the situation, and her best response was to use a 17-year-old son to cover for her sister. And what was dear sis doing while you were raising her child? Yeah, you got a serious mother problem, not the arsehole. Edit, Rain Mist pointed out that the age is wrong, as the commenter removed that part of their comment, and then said, your entire family is crap, mum and sis. Last Caterpillar says secrets never stay that way, especially secrets that should never have been. Not the arsehole seems most here cannot grasp that you were a teen too and forced to drop out of school because of your sister's bad decisions. Why? The arsehole in this scenario is your mother who did not parent and had you taken on the responsibility of parenting when you were just a kid yourself. Your sister is an arsehole too because it is not the child she is thinking about, it is herself. She feels guilt, doesn't want to have to explain this to her child and would rather it be swept under a rug. Bloody hell, and I can only think about myself when I was 17 and I don't know how you cope with that at 17. I know loads of people do. I can imagine many people face similar situations, you know, being a parent to younger siblings or whatever. But I can only imagine the resentment that OP looks back on their life and what could have been with their education and, you know, just their life in general. When they should have been living it, you know, 17 years old. I was out with my friends, partying, all that kind of stuff, having a good time. And this kid at the time was at home looking after a child because the mum asked him to give up. I just find that absolutely mind-blowing. That's so incredibly sad. I know it's, as I always say, I know it's very easy for me to say behind a microphone. I'm not sure how I would be able to look at those two people the same way again. What they force you into parenthood as a teenager, well, but everyone around you seemed to be doing their own things while you went through all this. You deserve so much more, and I can understand why you'd be pissed to have this thrown in your face years later. It just it takes the piss. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. How would you feel in that situation? 17 years old. I find that mad, but let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.